Nintendo and merchandising. There's been a long history here. From stickers, to books, to this thing, Nintendo has always been ready and willing to capitalize on the collector in all of us by introducing a cavalcade of goodies. There is an endless amount of Nintendo merchandise, including board games. That's right, even when the power is out and you're out of batteries, you can still play some of your favorite Nintendo games. Let's take a look at the Super Mario Bros. Game. How does it compare to the video game? To aid in demonstrating the board game in action, I may occasionally call upon my double to join me as my second player. It seems simple enough. You have Mario and some cardboard coins, a die with no numbers, some bad guy tokens, and a deck of cards. Oh, and not just one, but 4 playing boards. This may come as a surprise in a game that requires multiple players, but there's only one game piece to move around the board. All players move Mario on their own turn. On your turn, you move to the next yellow or red space according to what color appears on the die. This method of moving across the board effectively slows down the pace of the game, since you can only move 1 to 2 spaces at a time. If you land on a coin, you get a coin. If you land on 2 coins, you get 2 coins. If you land on a mushroom, no, you do not grow bigger. You get 4 coins. So it really should be a green mushroom instead of a red one, because it's essentially giving you a free man since you need to use 4 coins to buy another life. Confusingly enough, question boxes do not give you coins. Instead, you get to pick up a hazard card. During your turn, your opponent can play a hazard card to obstruct your path. If you land on the hazard, you can either use coins to get an extra life and continue your turn, or you lose a life and have to hand over the die. You can also destroy enemies with a fireball, if you have one in your hand. There's absolutely no jumping on enemies in this game. The game has a couple of built-in hazards that you must attempt to avoid. Both fire and water are Mario killers. Of course, avoiding hazards is not a skill you can acquire, unless you have discovered a method for honing your dice rolling abilities. If a hazard is 1 or 2 spaces ahead of you, there's always a 25% chance you're going to land on it. The only other way to end your turn is to roll stop, and this is the only situation where you can't pay your way out of death. There are only 4 worlds in this game as opposed to 8, and each world has its own board. When you finish one world, you're automatically transported to the next. In the end, the player who used the most hazard cards or had the longest run in the game is not the winner. Although you may have a greater chance of winning if you have a lot of coins, so you can extend your turn by purchasing more lives. But ultimately, it is the roll of the die that determines if you are the winner. Once you are confronted with Bowser, the first player to roll yellow wins. Congratulations! You have saved... wait a second. Is that Peach or Daisy? She has brown hair like Daisy, and a green dress like, Link? This just isn't a very accurate depiction of Princess Peach. But in the game's defense, Peach had red hair, a white dress, and was called Princess Toadstool in the first Super Mario Bros. So it's safe to assume that her now well-known appearance wasn't as established back in 1988. For a children's board game, this is surprisingly similar to the actual video game. Unlike movie adaptations of the Super Mario Bros., the board game looks like a Super Mario game and has the same characters and goals. The use of strategy in the game would probably have been aided by the use of an additional playing piece. However, I do think this might make for an interesting 2-player mode in a game. Imagine playing a Mario game where one player is always trying to impede the other's ability to complete a level by placing enemies in the other's path. Then, when he succeeds in killing his opponent, he gets to take over playing the level at the exact place of death, and the other player starts hurling obstacles instead. The other board game we're going to look at in this video is the Legend of Zelda game. You can actually play this game with only 1 player, or 2, 3, or 4 players. Each player has hearts and attack dice. The amount of each changes according to how many players are in the game. And once again, all players move a single playing piece. But this time, appropriately enough, it's Link. The game has 6 very tiny worlds. The players roll the numbered die in order to move Link around in a single world until someone finds a magic tile. Just like any other Zelda game, you must find a hidden object to help you through a dungeon. On your turn, if you land on a circle, your turn is over. But if you land on a square, you flip a tile. It might be a magic tile, but it's much more likely that it will be an enemy. In this game, all players work together to defeat the evil creatures that block your path. Everyone rolls their attack dice, and if the number of swords rolled is equal to or greater than the number on the monster tile, the enemy is defeated. If not, everyone loses a heart. When a monster has a heart in the corner, upon defeating that monster, everyone who rolled a sword on every one of their attack dice earns a heart. Once you find the magic tile, you can move on to the next world, or continue fighting the enemies until they've all been defeated. As you continue through the worlds, you encounter new enemies and they become more plentiful. Basically, the game becomes more difficult. The game is over once any player loses all hearts, or when any player acquires the Triforce, so you aren't guaranteed to reach the end of this game every time. Unlike other magic tiles, you cannot simply turn over the Triforce tile and keep it. You have 2 tries to roll 4 swords using all 4 attack dice, and if you do, then the Triforce is yours. The winner is the player with the most hearts at the end of the game, with each magic tile counting as 1 heart and the Triforce counting as 2 hearts. The Legend of Zelda board game is actually pretty fun. It can almost be a D&D game for kids. Plus, you don't need any friends to play, just like a video game. I was actually surprised how well both of these games translated into board games. Of course, both of these were released back in 1988 and are incredibly hard to find nowadays, so good luck getting your hands on them in order to try them out. But don't feel too badly if you never get to, because the original video games truly are the real masterpieces. Happy gaming!